Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to today's webcast, How to Choose the Right Data Preparation Tool for Your Use Case. We're excited to have Dave Wells, Practice Lead for Data Management at the Eckerson Group, and Fernaz Efron, Senior Director of Product Marketing and Strategy at Paxata, discussing this topic over the next 30 minutes. So without anything further, I'd like to introduce you to Dave Wells at the Eckerson Group.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining us today. There are a lot of data prep tools in the marketplace today. There's been a bit of an explosion in the past few years. This means lots of tools, and it means lots of variety. We have many choices, and many choices can be a good thing, but too many choices makes decisions difficult. Maybe we're talking about too much of a good thing. There are so many tools that making the right choice can really be confusing. You need criteria and you need guidance, things to help you. You need the criteria and the guidance and the things to help you understand the key criteria for making the choice of a tool. Helping you to understand those criteria is my goal for this webinar. So along with increased number of tools, we've seen a lot of growth in the number of people and the roles that perform data preparation. Everyone from line of business analysts doing self-service analysis to data scientists. We have more and more people analyzing data all the time, and that means more and more people preparing data all the time. And they span use cases from analytics, which we talk a lot about, to operational reporting. The variety of tools, the variety of users, the variety of use cases all make these choices difficult. When we add to that the demand for fast data preparation, everybody wants fast data today. And if we're looking for data at the speed of light, not data at turtle speed, then the right decision becomes critical. The right data prep tool can make all the difference in obtaining fast data. So let's begin by looking at use cases as one of the criteria for selecting a tool. The question is, for what purposes are people preparing data today? And for what purposes or use cases do you expect them to prepare data in the future? Much of the focus today is on data preparation for analytics. Analytics is the hot topic, so that's what everyone talks about. But people prepare data for many different needs that range from analytics to operational reporting and in between various degrees of business analysis and data analysis. The data preparation tool should support all of the needs and not be limited to analytics use cases. These tools are as valuable and beneficial to a budget analyst who's combining data from multiple spreadsheets for reconciliation reporting as they are for an analytic modeler sampling and formatting data for predictive analytics. So consider all of the use cases, both current and future, when you select a tool. In addition to use cases, we need to talk about users. Who are these people that are preparing data today? And who do you expect to be preparing data in the future? The initial target for self-service data prep tools was business people who were using the self-service analytics tools like Tableau and Qlik. But once the technology got out there, it proved to be valuable to virtually everyone who works with data. Users today range from non-technical line of business people to the highly technical developers, engineers, and data scientists. IT developers prepare data for business use faster, more efficiently, and with fewer errors and oversights, doing it with a modern data prep tool, than they do coding ETL in the old-fashioned. Data engineers use data discovery functions to understand the content and the structure of the data and to design the data pipelines and the data services. Data scientists use those same discovery functions for prototyping, for transformation and blending, to prepare data for analysis without any coding. So when selecting data prep tools, it's really important that you consider the entire user base, both for today and for the future. So we've talked use cases, we've talked users. The next criterion is user interface. And to decide about user interface, you need to think about the range of data skills, data literacy, and the range of technical skills for your user base today and in the future as that user base evolves. So these tools range from visual interface that's non-technical to coding and scripting tools that are highly technical. The visual tools focus on the user experience. Design of data prep workflows happens through a point-and-click drag-and-drop interface that most people with any computer skills are comfortable with. The effects of data prep operations are visible through views of live data. This is particularly important when working with those non-technical users. When they perform a data prep operation, they should see the impact of that operation immediately and perhaps be able to undo it if it's not what they intended to do. It's great to have tools that make suggestions and recommendations that help the user make data prep decisions. So we want smart data prep tools. Visual tools are well suited to the non-technical users, and smart visual tools are especially good at helping non-technical people prepare their data. But these visual tools are sometimes limited in their ability to perform really complex data prep operations. Many of the visual tools allow more technical users to generate an initial data prep workflow and then modify with coding and scripting to do the more complex operations. At the other end of the continuum, the highly technical tools, scripting and coding oriented tools, give greater attention to maximum capability than they do to ease of use. Scripting, both manual and generated, is the way that data prep operations and workflow are specified in these tools. And these are the tools that are more suited to the technical users, the data scientists and the data engineers. When much of your user base is line of business analysts with a long history of working with data in Excel, then Excel is their familiar user interface. It's their comfort zone, point and click, drag and drop, seeing data in a spreadsheet-like view. If you have a data preparation tool that does this kind of thing, you keep these people in their comfort zone. They get an easy transition to modern data prep tools. They get the advanced features of modern data prep without an extreme learning curve. And that can make a real significant difference. So consider user interface very tightly connected to user base and user skills. Next, we need to shift from users and use cases to the data that we're working with and consider data types. What kinds of data is being worked with today, and what kinds of data are your users working with? Will they be working with in the future? Everybody's worked with spreadsheets, flat files, database tables, and they're still common and popular data sources. But big data and NoSQL have radically expanded the types of data that we use for reporting and the types of data we use for analytics. In addition, we have database transaction logs, clickstream logs from websites, and these things are great sources of data, but they often require some complex parsing as part of data preparation. NoSQL throws in more complex things, key value pair databases, document store databases, graph databases. We see geospatial becoming increasingly popular as organizations discover the value of spatial analytics. Image processing, text processing, all of these create even further opportunities to bring new kinds of data in and enrich our analytic potential. So along with data types, we need to consider data sources. What kinds of sources are we using today? What kinds of sources do we use in the future? Historically, we've mostly limited ourselves to enterprise data, internal data, transactional systems, internal data warehouses, and so on. But the variety of data sources has grown right in parallel with the growth of data types. The simple world of enterprise data has been extended, and the value of enterprise transaction data and enterprise reference data is increased when we blend it with external data from partners, from commercial data providers, from open sources, and so on. And as IoT adoption accelerates, we'll see more interest in streaming data from social channels, from machines, from connected devices. So lots and lots of different kinds of data coming at us today and in the future. With these new data sources, we don't always know the meaning. We don't get the rich set of metadata with external data sources and big data sources that we typically have with our own internal transaction data. So it's kind of important to consider what you do know and what you don't know about every data source, with maybe more emphasis on the what you don't know. When you're working with standard and predictable sources, when the data sources are known, it's practical to work with samples to build your data prep. With less known sources, less understood sources, the probability of unexpected outcomes in data preparation increases when you work with samples. The samples may not include all of the outliers, all of the anomalies that exist in a full data collection. So be careful when working with sampling. The reality is that a statistically significant sample, as data scientists like to work with, is not necessarily a representative sample sufficient to show all of the anomalies in the data that need to be considered in data preparation processes. Then we need to think about deployment options. Where is data preparation work performed today? And what do you think is likely to happen in the future? We can adopt data prep tools, deploy them on premises, in the cloud, or as a hybrid. One way to look at this is to think about your implementation options with respect to where the data resides. Location is a very critical consideration when GDPR compliance is in play. Data location is also important when you're working with big data sources. It's typically more efficient to take processing to the data than to bring the data to the processing. On-premises implementations may be desktop or server installations. Desktop's popular in self-service cultures because individual users like it close to home. They like local and autonomous. Server is better suited for enterprise deployments. Server with a browser interface gives you a nice mix of centralized deployment with thin client access locally. Cloud deployments bring lots of advantages. The as-a-service ease of administration, the elasticity and the scalability that the cloud is so well known for. And we can also think about hybrid for the right mix of local user experience and cloud benefits. So as you're evaluating data preparation tools, think about the deployment options that make sense for you and ask about the deployment options that are supported by the tool. Tool deployment should fit well with your infrastructure, your architecture, and your organizational culture. By organizational culture, I mean such things as self-service people who want to have it locally. Cloud deployment makes sense when you have lots of cloud-hosted data sources. Desktop deployment is good with a small number of independent and autonomous users. With larger numbers of self-service users, they may be better supported with a server implementation or perhaps a thin client server browser combination that supports local autonomy while minimizing all of the overhead of administration with lots of desktop deployments. Governance is another important consideration. Self-service has made data governance a more complex question than it was in the past. Many of us weren't particularly good at governance before self-service, and self-service raises the stakes in governance. Most data prep tools have some data governance features and functions. They support things such as data encryption, user permissions, data masking, workflow for data curation, and data lineage tracking. Security and user permissions should work with your existing processes, your existing systems, and your existing security infrastructure. Tracking of data usage, knowing who uses which data and for what purposes, and how frequently they use it, is a valuable feature when you want to promote data sharing and reuse and when you want to foster community governance practices. So, among the important things you want to look for in data governance features are automatically tracking every data preparation action and self-documenting that tracking so you have a complete history of the data lineage. Look for integration with your enterprise security infrastructure, that the security features will work with whatever you're using, LDAP, Kerberos, or whatever infrastructure you use. Try to achieve quality improvement. Quality is certainly a data governance consideration. Quality improvement happens through reuse of proven data preparation actions, not rebuilding the same wheel over and over again differently, but really truly making that leap from reusable to reused. And foster real and real-time collaboration, and you'll get better governance. We also want to think about projects. What kinds of data analysis projects are typical in your organization today, and what kind of projects do you expect to see in the future? Most organizations have multiple reporting and analysis projects, and they're of various sizes. Much of self-service analysis and reporting is done with individual projects. One person performs a reporting or analysis task. Multi-person projects have a variety of sizes, from small work groups to agile, iterative, linear, and even waterfall projects. So for teams of all sizes, collaboration and sharing features accelerate projects, improve quality of results, and just make the projects work more smoothly. Data preparation tools can contribute a lot to these kinds of projects. So look for features like shared queries, shared workflows, shared models, user review and rating of data sets, user review and rating of data preparation procedures. You can accelerate projects and you can improve quality with collaboration. And for group projects with collaboration among a few analysts, interactive multi-user collaboration, something similar to Google Sheets, is an especially valuable feature. So in addition to the criteria that I've covered, I want to touch quickly on some of the key product features that you should look for in a data preparation tool. This is kind of an overview where we'll talk about data transformation, cleansing, and blending. We'll also look at some more advanced kinds of things in terms of machine learning and the data lineage tracking we've already touched on, sharing, reuse, and the environmental infrastructural considerations of integration, interoperability, scalability, and reliability. So if I begin with transformation, cleansing, and data blending, these are the core functions that a data prep tool must perform. Data transformation to improve data, cleanse and enrich data, format data, and do all of this quickly and easily and consistently. Data cleansing to detect and correct data quality deficiencies, and data blending to combine data from multiple sources. Machine learning is what makes data preparation tools smart data preparation tools. They learn from the data algorithmically, and they learn from users working with the data. And through machine learning, they can detect such things as joins and join opportunities. They can discover overlaps among data sets. They can recommend ways to blend data. They can recommend data preparation actions such as masking or obfuscating personally identifying information or privacy-sensitive data. All of these different kinds of recommendations improve the ability for all users, but especially for those non-technical users, to confidently work with data sets and prepare them in the right ways. Data lineage tracking we already touched on, but I will say this is a must-have feature in a data prep tool. Every data prep tool needs to give you the ability to trace and to troubleshoot, to see the lineage and be able to trust the data that you're working with, and to reconcile that data. Where did it come from and how did it change as it went through the workflow? So we need automated metadata collection. We need them to be fully self-documenting and to provide that complete comprehensive history of data flow, workflow, and data transformations. Sharing and reuse. This is fundamental to speed of data preparation. It's fundamental to quality of results. We need to share and reuse data sets, queries, operations, and workflows. We'll accelerate projects, we'll eliminate waste, we'll improve quality, we'll foster collaboration. Data prep tools can help you cross that gap between reusable and reused, and I think that's a very, very important thing for us to do. Integration and interoperability. What we want to do here is seamlessly connect for data access, reporting, and analysis. So on the access end, I'm concerned about having the right kinds of connectors to get into those difficult data sources, to be able to connect with and work with the big data sources, to be able to get into those software as a service applications where the data access isn't necessarily graceful and easy, applications such as Salesforce or Workday. On the reporting and analysis end, what we want is a smooth transition from a data preparation tool to a reporting or analysis tool. How gracefully does your data prep tool work with Tableau or Click or Looker or whatever tools are in use in your environment. And in most environments, we find that there is not just a single data analysis and data visualization tool in use. There tend to be multiple tools, so integrating these tools and having them work together is a particularly important thing. And finally, we want to think about scalability and reliability. We need to scale up, not scale out, because we will see growth of workloads, growth of simultaneous users, growth of data, and all sorts of things. We need to be elastic because we'll see peaks and valleys in workloads. We need to be conscious of fault tolerance and error handling. It is particularly disturbing for a self-service user to have a data prep process fail and not be able to recover gracefully, have to start over from the beginning. And we want to make sure that we have all the admin functions for monitoring and management. So those are the things that I consider the absolutely essential criteria to evaluate when selecting data preparation tools. With that, I want to turn over to Farnaz Irfan, to Senior Director, Product Marketing and Strategy at Paxata, to show you how Paxata fits with these criteria and what Paxata does as one of the top-tier data preparation tools.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate it. That was great, great topics, great set of criteria you just covered. So what I want to take the next 5 minutes or so is to really get into self-service data prep. David, you covered self-service data prep as well as broader category of data prep, but let's kind of take a quick look at what makes a self-service data prep tool and what are the best use cases and scenarios that fit this type of interface. So self-service data prep is really a data prep solution that has been built for the business user in mind, for someone that has very little or no technical skills. And given that Excel interface has been the data interface for many business users and business analysts over the years, what self-service data prep solutions have tried to do is to really mimic that and create the same paradigm in terms of interacting with your data and being able to prepare it as you see the values of your data. However, unlike Excel spreadsheets that have some limitations, self-service data prep tools don't. First off, you are able to really interact with your entire data as you work within Paxata. So there is no limitations in terms of the number of rows you can prepare. The second thing is that it has intelligence built in. So intelligence from anything from an ingest standpoint to really recognize different file types like XML or JSON files and be able to flatten that out into a tabular format so you can see all the values and start to prepare your data, all the way to intelligence around your data similarities, joins, and overlaps within your data. That is built in. So really, it's machine learning that's also helping the human be able to prepare data at a quick and rapid pace. And the last major characteristic of self-service data prep solutions, in particular Paxata, is that it has built-in governance. So as you work with your data and interact with your data, it self-documents and it records the steps you take on your data. So you can always go back and trace back to what you've done. You can change those rules over time, or you're able to really put another data set into what you've built to make this a repeatable and automated process. So in a nutshell, it really is preparation for a business user to really work with clicks, not code, and create a very clean, contextualized answer set that they could publish into downstream tools like BI or visualization tools. Now, what are some of the use cases and scenarios where self-service data prep tool is best fit for? First off, when your primary user who is going to interact with data is a business user, as we covered it, business analysts, data analysts, marketing managers, people with very little technical skills or no technical skills. The second bucket is really around where you need a business domain expertise to be able to work with your data, and that might be where IT doesn't have the context or doesn't know about the data. So scenarios such as Customer 360, maybe a marketing scenario, and IT doesn't have that much insight into what the data needs to perform as. Or data monetization scenarios where you want to really know the value of your data, and that's what a business user or a subject matter expert in a certain domain has that expertise and has that knowledge, and IT doesn't have that. So those are areas that you really want to use a self-service data prep tool. The third one I would say is when the data values and the quality of your data is unknown. So in many cases, you may be pulling second-party or third-party data from external data sources, from your suppliers, partners, or public information assets, and you really don't know what you don't know. So you want to see all the values of your data and be able to interact with that instead of starting to code on it without really knowing what's in the data. Mergers and acquisitions is another scenario here where systems of ERP or CRM have been built and designed a long time ago, and people who have created it are long gone. And an integration is supposed to happen post-merger. But what you need to do initially is to be able to really look at the state of these systems and really see what you need to migrate or what you need to pull together in an integrated scenario. And the last bucket, I would say, are scenarios where you may be thinking that you're doing self-service data preparation, but what you're doing is a sample and batch type of workflow. So some of the data prep tools in the market do have this paradigm where you actually interact with your data only with a sample of it. And as you infer rules on that sample, you're going to apply those rules on your broader data set in a batch process. And while that might work for some scenarios, when there's a huge risk involved, like fraud or compliance or customer sat scenarios or clinical studies, when you work with a sample, you're not going to be able to see all the anomalies or all the patterns that may happen in your data. You're just seeing what's in the sample. So in those scenarios, it's not the best scenario to work with a sample and batch type of paradigm, even though you're thinking you're using a self-service data prep scenario and tool. Okay, so what's a good example of self-service data prep that I have? And I want to walk through is this company that we have worked with, which is a global consumer electronics giant. And if you have a TV at your house, it's most likely going to be this brand. So their use case of self-service data preparation was all around their TV log data. And they had to work with that TV log data in two scenarios. One was, as they're launching new services and programs, for example, as they're integrating with Roku or Netflix, they need to verify the log files of these integrations against a set of QA standards. And in the past, prior to using Paxata self-service data prep, they were using custom code or they were using ETL, legacy ETL tools. So it was really taking them a long time to go through this QA cycle, which was delaying their launch of these new services by 3 to 6 weeks on average. So what they did, they changed their approach, and they brought data preparation and this QA verification into the line of business for the service analysts and service managers to be able to perform that using a self-service tool so they can launch their services a lot quicker into the market. And then the second scenario was when they're launched, they have these service packs available for their customers. It's the product managers of those service packs and programs that want to get visibility into how people are using the program. Are they using it? What hours are they using the service? And get feedback on that very quickly, a few weeks after a launch. But as much as they were using Tableau for visualizations to get those insights, they had to wait for IT to turn around those log files for them, those usage data, for them and be able to give that to product managers. They changed that as well and enabled product managers who have very little technical skills to be able to prepare their data and also visualize it using Tableau or other visualization tools that they were using. So a great example in terms of business users getting their hand on data, working with very complex data files, JSON, text files, and being able to see quick results as they interact with the data and they want to get feedback on it. So as you are thinking about self-service data preparation or data preparation in general and how to evaluate these tools, I think a good report to go through is the latest report, latest wave from Forrester on self-service data prep, where they really evaluate different vendors in the space and how the capabilities are scoring against each other. So we are, because of our extended capabilities and the variety of customer use cases we have been named the leader, and this report is available on our website. You can always go ahead and download and read through the differences of different solutions. And then lastly, I'd like to leave you with also a very, very great paper that Dave wrote, and it's also available on our website. It goes through 20 different criteria in which you can evaluate your data preparation tool. It's a data prep buyer's guide that David goes through a lot of great detail. So please go ahead and use that for your evaluation. And with that, I'd like to wrap up and go to questions. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them in the QA box. We'll get through them. All right. Oh, here. Okay. All right, so one of the questions we have is asking is there ability to roll back to a previous version of the data prep? We are working in a multi-user, multi-developer model. I'm assuming this is for Paxata. So yes, you have the ability. There is versioning built into the product, so you have the ability to go to a previous version as maybe other people are starting to develop your data prep further. So you can always kind of roll back to a previous version. All right, next question is asking a question for Dave. You describe data blending as combining data from multiple sources. Isn't that what a data warehouse does? What's the difference?
Okay, it is true that a data warehouse combines data from multiple sources, but it does it with a very rigid schema, and all use cases for that data must adapt themselves to the schema. So unless you subscribe to the idea that there is a one-size-fits-all schema for data analysis, that the data warehouse is not the ideal way to serve up data for self-service data analysis or for data science kinds of data analysis, because each use case needs to combine data and format data and prepare data in different ways. So data blending is a per use case combining of data, where data warehousing, and the data warehouse, don't get me wrong, the data warehouse is valuable, but its purpose is to combine data once for consumption by many people who don't need to manipulate it or further format it.
Great answer. So would you say, Dave, that data warehouse is more, data blending is more suited for multiple people, where they want to get their own hands on the data and prepare it themselves, versus the data warehouse is something that IT will build?
Yes, yes. Data warehousing is more like publishing integrated data. Data blending is sort of build your own.
Great, thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, so we have another question that says, what about users using self-service data prep tools to extract data from complex normalized structures? Are they using the tools to create dimensional models? So maybe we both can answer that. Self-service data preparation tools is really allowing the users to work with data in a tabular format and publish that to, in our product, you have the ability to publish to Tableau, Power BI, MicroStrategy, Click, but it's not built to really create a dimensional model per se for, in a way that Oracle does, or, it's more of a legacy data warehouse is built. So it's by design built to be very easy and not require skills around dimensional modeling. Dave, do you want to chime in on that one?
Certainly. Now I'm getting an echo. There the echo's gone. You can use these data preparation tools to generate the tables that you would, the fact table and dimension tables that you would use to support a dimensional model, but that's not their primary purpose. Dimensional analysis is an OLAP kind of thing. It's more like an advanced form of reporting. And the kinds of data analysis and data visualization that we find ourselves doing today in line of business data analysis all the way to data science tends to be less reliant on dimensional models and more reliant on formatting the data to fit the specific analytic tools and algorithms that are going to be applied.
Okay, exactly right. Thank you, David. And I think that was all the questions we had. We really appreciate everyone joining the webcast. We hope that this was valuable to you, and we really want to appreciate Dave for your presentation, going through this in such detail. Until next time, we'll make this available as a recording for everyone to go back to as well. Thank you so much. Bye.